Hello everybody, I am Cyrus Hojadi. Today is August 20th, 2017. I'm making this video regarding some comments and statements delivered by James Murren. And if you don't know who James Murren really is, James Murren is the CEO of MGM Resorts International, a major corporation that runs and controls resort and casino services that mainly includes the bottom half of the Las Vegas Strip and properties all over America and all over the world. So the reason I'm making this video is about his comments and remarks about the incident that happened in Charlottesville, Virginia about a week ago, and how he reacted to the comments made by our current president. Now, before I go on, I want to make this very, very clear. I am not taking any sides to this issue. So I'm not taking the side of the alt-right, and I'm not taking the side of Antifa, Black Lives Matter. I think they are both flawed. They are both designed and manipulated, very likely by similar interests to divide and distract this country. Although both sides have good merits of what they are talking about. So basically, what James Murren is really talking about, the CEO, and this is unbelievable. This is so shocking that a CEO that runs and controls hotels and resorts that has very little relations with these kinds of issues is talking about this. You see, this really shows you where the problem is. This shows you who and the real colors of James Murren actually really is. But of course, he's out there and he's saying, oh, what Donald Trump said was horrible and harsh. Now, let me tell you this about Donald Trump. I don't support him on a lot of issues. I've been critical of him in terms of his banking policies, in terms of his foreign policies. That's the main concern that I have with Donald Trump. Not because he's a racist, he's a bigot, he's a sexist. That's not my main concern. But you see, the masses have been told that that's the main reason why you should have problems with Donald Trump. Because he says some things in a way that didn't sound politically correct. It's kind of like what the Tea Party did with Barack Obama. Yes, there were problems with Barack Obama. But my main problems with Barack Obama, not because he was a socialist, because he was another extension of Bush. More wars, more banker bailouts, and so forth. That was the main issue. You see, this public and this society is driven to think and believe things that are largely untrue, misleading, and more importantly, take people into the wrong direction. And let me tell you something, based on the article that I read from Bloomberg and these propaganda mouthpiece networks like NBC News 3 of Las Vegas, Review Journal, and Sun, they are misleading the public, they are pimping, and they're pumping up this guy, James Murren. And it seems that this guy is part of the problem. He is the real divider. He is the real cause. Now let me tell you a little bit about what happened, okay? James Murren wants you to believe that everything is the alt-right's fault. The so-called neo-Nazi movement, the KKK, whatever you want to call it. Nothing is the fault of Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Even though they came here and brought violence, even though they had bats or whatever weapons on them, even though they were mentioning things, kill all white people. I mean, this is hate. You see the double standard? This is so unbelievable, and it's so disgusting that you, James Murren, are nothing more but whoring for these propaganda and misleading mindsets in this country. You should be ashamed of yourself. You know that? But you are part of the problem. You see, folks, you have to ask yourself, where are all these mindsets? Where are all these politicians getting their money? See, folks, what you have to really understand is that the media out there was giving you misleading information, regardless of what media outlet it was, whether it was CNN, Fox, or whatever. They're not telling you the whole enchilada of the story. And it's not just the media. It is also the fact that the police department were not there protecting the people. They wanted it to happen. They created an incident. This is why I like to compare this to 9/11. It was designed to create an incident, to create fear, to create scare tactics, to create a false alarm, to create division and chaos in this country. Don't you understand what this is about? This is all socially engineered. But this scumbag, this son of a gun, James Murren, doesn't tell you the whole story. Oh, but he wants to stand out. The CEO of MGM Resorts, he wants to stand out that he cares about the people. He somehow believes in this idea that, you know, he is loyal. He has so much love and respect for the community. But that's not true, okay? And let me tell you a little bit about what the real problem is. Before I get into that, okay, you have to understand, in this society, and this is why you got to listen to that George Carlin clip every day of your life. This country, we have the illusion of choice. So this is what they're doing. Take the side of Antifa or take the side of the alt-right. You shouldn't join any movement. You should remain independent. That's what's happening. They're creating division and chaos, like George Carlin says, so that they can divide this country up, and then the wealthy people that pull the strings of both sides, they can laugh their way to the bank and laugh at us. That's what this is about. But James Murren is the real problem. He is the guy that's pumping up all this political correctness garbage. Now, then again, I will say this. I don't applaud Donald Trump on a lot of issues, but I will applaud him that he is kicking the butt of political correctness, and that is a good job, okay? I'm tired of this political correctness. Now, will I argue, is there racism among black people and minorities? Absolutely. Okay? But is there racism among white people? Yes, there is. If I say if I'm proud to be Iranian, people will applaud that. But if I say that I'm proud of the contributions of white people and I'm interested in dating a white American, people show me and they tell me that I am a racist. But do you see the double standard that exists in this entire world, folks? So let me tell you what really the problem is. The real problem is not the white nationalists and the alt-right. The real problem is not the left-wing supporters. The real problem are people like you, James Murren. You have become nothing more but a pimp of manipulating the political landscape and society of this entire country and this world. You're not running your businesses just because you want to make your pockets rich. You're running your businesses because you want to pimp and whore for politicians like Harry Reid, Cortez Masto, and even Republican politicians. You are the problem. You are the real divider. And as a matter of fact, when people keep talking about removing statues and everything, how about we remove you from your CEO positions, you disgusting scumbag? You are the guy behind all of the corruption, believe it or not. You should be ashamed of yourself. All right? Think about that. You are trying to take profits from these naive visitors that come visit your hotels so you can manipulate society. This is disgusting, even though these things have very little relevance to your business. Because you are nothing more but a pimp. You are nothing more but a hired gun. Okay? Now let me tell you a little bit of background about this guy. James Murren, the CEO who runs the hotels like Bellagio, City Center, by the way, which got backing from Dubai World, which are very powerful people, believe it or not. I suggest you research how powerful Saudis are from Harry Reid. And he also runs and controls Mandalay Bay, Luxor, MGM Grand, and the list goes on. This guy helped architect the mergers and acquisitions and the corporatizing of the Las Vegas Strip hotels. Because he started to get in 1999, all the buying of Mandalay Resort Group, of Mirage Hotels from Steve Wynn and so forth. This guy is the architect, and he's nothing more but a disgusting pimp for this global power structure. You have to understand, the real enemy of this world is this disgusting global power structure. I suggest you research the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, Mossad, the Knights of Malta, the Vatican, the Jesuit power structure. These are the real enemies that control Wall Street, the CIA, the Federal Reserve, the World Bank. And these disgusting buffoons, they have control over the corporations that run Las Vegas. This is exactly what is happening. And politicians like Harry Reid, Heller, Masto, and even local politicians, perhaps like Steve Sisolak. That's what this is all about. Folks, you need to understand. You have to wake up. You have to start realizing what the hell is going on. Who are the real dividers? Who are the real troublemakers? So this guy, now that he has a corporate oligarch, he donates like crazy his corporations to politicians like Rubin, even the state assembly. You need to confront the state assembly. You can get their cell phone numbers, their telephone numbers, and tell them, why the hell do you take money from MGM Resorts International and James Murren and even guys like Sheldon Adelson? This is a disgusting disgrace. I'm sick and tired of all this. You know that? This guy needs to be taken down from his CEO position, and we need to enforce antitrust laws, for God's sakes. This is absolutely disgusting. This guy is pumping politicians like Reid, Masto, and by the way, I think he's friends with the entire establishment. I think he's friends with Jerry Brown, believe it or not. And by the way, let me tell you something a little bit about this. It's not just the fact that you guys are the real dividers. Maybe the reason why, maybe you should at least sympathize with the alt-right. Maybe the reason why the alt-right is behaving the way they are, it's because of lousy, disgusting scumbag politicians like Harry Reid, Cortez Masto, and the list goes on all over the country, all over the world, like Jerry Brown. Maybe if Jerry Brown did a better job in our transportation and our taxes and a lot of other things, maybe there wouldn't be all this anti-immigrant sentiment. It has to do with the fact that the places where immigrants live, where minorities live, there's higher taxes, and there's all this other corruption. That's the problem, but you're not willing to sympathize with that. Maybe if Jerry Brown did a better job managing the state, maybe we wouldn't have all this problem with the alt-right and all this anger and frustration. Because these alt-right people don't want more minorities because they feel, doesn't necessarily have to be the case, that if we have more minorities, we're going to have more Jerry Brown, more Harry Reid politicians with higher taxes, and more corruption. That is exactly the problem, folks. You guys need to start waking up and understanding the whole enchilada of the problem. And that's where the problem with the alt-right is. They need to start realizing that too. That's why I'm not taking side of any other issue, any other side. But of course, James Murren, of the CEO of MGM Resorts, he doesn't want to realize that, because he knows that when he funds these politicians, he uses the immigrant vote, the naiveness of immigrants to vote in these scumbag politicians. See, the most important thing is you have to work with immigrants and realize that they are being used, that they are being trained by scumbag politicians and special interests to create chaos. The real problem is James Murren and Harry Reid and these bad politicians that want immigrants to pursue their own agenda. That's the real problem. The problem is not immigrants. The problem is it's the special interest groups, the politicians. You need to direct their attention and misery to these bozos. That is the real problem. And let me tell you something about this guy, James Murren. Believe it or not, given the fact that Harry Reid has left office, he created his own lobbying firm, his own lobbying section in Washington, D.C. Now, why is that? Because maybe Harry Reid, his good pal, is gone. Maybe he wants to keep becoming another money cockroach to shake out of Washington. My God! This explains why we have disgusting scumbag politicians. And you need to talk to people like who are part of the undocumented community. You need to tell them that you can't continue to support these scumbag politicians. Just because they say that they like you, that they're for citizenship and diversity, doesn't mean that they give a damn about you either. Don't you get it? We're being played by both sides, the Democrats and the Republicans, for division and conquer. That's what this is about. Jim Murren, you showed your true colors about immigration over the last year during the presidential election. Everybody knows, as it seems, that you are concerned about immigration because it's very likely that you are hiring non-legal immigrants for your businesses. And I believe a lot of jobs that Americans would do. And if you don't believe that, then how was Las Vegas run in the 1960s? There was hardly any undocumented immigrants. Who was cleaning the hotels at that time? So if anybody tells you that we need undocumented immigrants just to pick the fruits, that's just largely misleading. Because we have one of the largest undocumented population in the entire country, Clark County, Nevada. That is a fact. And folks, if you want to understand why wages in the Las Vegas Valley are not rising, if you want to understand why your schools are messed up as the way they are, if you want to understand why we have crowding, why we have immigration problems, perhaps you should look and blame James Murren. Thank you for watching, Robert Crooks. I hope you take every bit of my information right now and share this video as much as you can. Because I got to get out there and I got to fight so hard and expose the truth. And I don't care, James Murren, CEO of MGM Resorts, if you're watching this right now and you're going to team up with Sizzlack and you're going to team up with Harry Reid and bury me in the desert and cover up the truth with your mouthpiece media outlets. Go ahead. I don't care. We're living in the 21st century. We can spread the truth if ever any incident ever happens to me, because we know your true colors, folks. This is exactly the problem. And the fact is that you are very likely to be supporting other scumbag politicians like Sizzlack, like Caroline Goodman, like Deborah Marsh. I'm going to expose Deborah Marsh. I'm going to confront this woman. I'm going to tell her, are you good friends with Jim Murren? I just want to know. You probably dine with him and you probably shake his hand every other day. You see, folks, this is the fact. Now, the question is, you also have to ask, why aren't these politicians ever exposing and mentioning the corruption that comes out, the shady deals that come out from these CEOs? How come they never talk about that? You have to ask yourself, how come even people like Michelle Fiore and CEOs like Steve Wynn don't ever talk about these shady deals? Why? Why is this happening? Are they scared? Jim Murren, if you really want to talk about the real problems that's causing division and problems in this country, maybe you should talk about the shady Wall Street deals and corruption, the Federal Reserve, the massive income inequality, the fact that the labor force participation rate for 25 to 65-year-olds has been falling for several years. What about the military-industrial complex? How come you never talk about the military-industrial complex, James Murren? That's the real problem. That's causing all the division and chaos. That disproportionately negatively affected African Americans and minorities. That's the real problem, our horrible trade policies. But you spoke in favor of the NAFTA deal. That shows your real colors. Why is that? How come you never speak out against Sheldon Adelson, the CEO of Las Vegas Sun, that openly admits that he wants war for Iran to promote the interests of Israel and the globalists, along with the Jesuits and the Vatican of Rome? How come you never talk about that? How come you never speak? Because you are part of this disgusting mafia, as it seems. And the fact is that you have to understand the whole picture. These incidents are perpetuated. They are manipulated to promote and create a civil war in this country, to create division. That's what they want. My guess is that they want the breakup, they want the shattering of the United States, so that you get distracted from the more important issues, like I've discussed before, the military-industrial complex. You get distracted from the Wall Street manipulation. We have another housing bubble. The next shoe is about to fall pretty soon. And when that happens, and I spoke about this on my Facebook post last week, You guys, a lot of you who are protesting, you're probably going to be ashamed. You guys are going to be embarrassed that you forgot about the most important issues, the military-industrial complex. That's what I'm concerned about Donald Trump. He needs to start addressing these issues a little bit more. Okay? And, you know, a lot of you guys who are politically correct always talk about, you know, the Confederacy is all about slavery. White people are the only people that enslave people. Listen, folks, we've had slaves of whites. Middle Easterners, Muslims had slaves of blacks. Slavery has existed for centuries. Okay? This is a fact. In fact, black people actually owned slaves in the South. And the North had slaves too. So, you know, stop with this whole double standard. Now, personally, do I think a lot of people who are from the South are racist? Certainly, of course. But other places like Boston can be racist too. You have to start waking up. Now, do I know exactly what happened in the Civil War? What was it about? I don't know. I haven't done a full investigation. Some people say it was control of the money supply. Some people say it was about tariffs. Who knows? But the fact is that you, James Murren, are believing in this double standard, in this brainwashing. It's just so sickening that a CEO like you... Now, I want you to guys think about this for a sec. This guy has been raising his prices on a lot of his services. It's not just drinks and food. It's more recently parking. Those of you who don't know, when you have to stay at the MGM Grand Hotel and the Excalibur, you got to pay like 30, 40 bucks to park at his hotels now. And think about it, that you are funding his crony, disgusting agenda. And where's all that money going? Not just to pay his own pockets, but he can contribute to these lousy, scumbag, disgusting politicians. And more importantly, what I just heard, he is actually donating to propagandist organizations like the Southern Poverty Law Center, organizations like the Anti-Defamation League, organizations like CARE. These are very controversial organizations that promote Islamic agenda. Now, do I have anything against blacks and Islam? No. And am I with these guys that the Southern Poverty Law Center that considered hateful? No. I'm not with these guys. But I can understand that these organizations, from what I've heard, they're not promoting the best interest of the American people. And it's so disgusting that you running these hotels, you are promoting, you are pimping this lousy, disgusting political landscape. You should be ashamed of yourself. Okay? That is the real problem. And this is what you really, really have to understand, folks. Okay? All these organizations that promote diversity, that promote all this multiculturalism. If there's going to be diversity, it has to be good management. But the diversity that we have now, it's not being managed well. I can tell you that for a fact. But you see, their diversity means lots of corruption, lots of, conflicts of interest. This is what you have to understand when you're listening from these organizations and these politicians. These nice buzzwords, they're not in the best interest of you. You have to wake up. This society that we live in, it's full of lies, deception. This is the thing. 98% of media, 98% of these politicians are liars. They are scumbags. They're not in the best interest of you. Okay? Maybe we should really take down James Murren. Maybe we should take down the establishment that includes Heller, Masto, Rubin, Kiyuan. We should take down Sisolak. We should take down Caroline Goodman, Deborah Marsh. I think that is the real hate group. The real hate group is the Las Vegas Review-Journal and Sun and all these mouthpiece media outlets. The real hate group, which includes Sheldon Adelson, they need to be taken down. The media establishment all over the world. Maybe we should take down the Wall Street Federal Reserve establishment, the military-industrial complex, the CIA. They are the real haters. Folks, you need to start waking up. You need to spread this video. You need to spread this information. You need to understand what the hell is going on, my friend. Because this guy, he, as it seems, is the real problem behind all this. Okay? This is just so disgusting. And as a matter of fact, you know what? I think, James Murren, I think you're good friends with George Soros. Doesn't surprise me, because George Soros funds a lot of these scumbag politicians and organizations. George Soros funds, from what I've seen, the American Civil Liberties Union, the Anti-Defamation League, the Southern Poverty Law Center. He funds Emily's List, which is an organization that funds politicians like Cortez Masto. Wake up. Realize what you're getting into. And by the way, I think George Soros is good friends with Sheldon Adelson, despite Sheldon Adelson funds Republican causes. And he's also good friends probably with the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers help fund and promote the Tea Party. But they're all working this in together with the global elites to create a divide and conquer strategy. Get out of this situation. Don't fall for this left and right paradigm. Okay? All these ideologies, progressivism, conservatism, libertarianism, totalitarianism, they're all flawed. Wake up. Okay? So if you really want to make change, build a movement, take out to the streets that exposes the real truth, preach something that where 90-something% of the population agrees with. Again, the issue is not between left and right. The issue is between establishment, corrupt interests versus the people that want to make a difference in this world. That is the real division. That is the real battle that we have to fight, folks. This is one of the things that you have to really, really keep in mind. And meanwhile, we're being distracted by the very and most important issues that are really facing this country. Because we could be having another economic crisis in the coming years. What's going to happen when the housing market collapses? There could be another round of bailouts, foreclosures. The Las Vegas housing market continues to sink. What's James Murren going to do now? Well, I guess he probably wants it because it perpetuates the global establishment. It's kind of ironic how he doesn't speak out against any of this, because less visitors in an economic downturn means less business for him. But I guess that's not his top priority. He's probably just a shill for the global elites who benefits from the boom, bubble, burst, and everything that happens in our entire world. That's what you have to think about it. And my guess is that with the self-driving cars and the economic crisis, I think he might have to get rid of his paid parking initiative. Because a lot of people just don't have money. You know, that's the thing you have to really understand. It's kind of shocking, believe it or not, that we have just a bunch of people who have no future, who are in student loan debt, that are still supporting his properties, but also who are being hired shills to promote and perpetuate Antifa, because they have not much to do. A lot of these people are paid shills. And by the way, a lot of people in the alt-right, they're angry too. They could be paid shills as well. But they're angry and they're talking about all this white nationalism because they're overreacting and they don't know what really the problem is. Because again, the root cause of really of what all this problem is this lousy, disgusting, scumbag economy. Okay? This is one of the things you have to understand. And the root problem behind all this is our entire global economic system. As long as there's going to be profit, competition, labor for income, there's going to be all these problems, man. There's going to be all these problems of inequality, misbalance of power. That's just our system. You know? This is the sad, sad reality, but we still have to fight it. And maybe we're just going to have to just overturn this entire global economic system. Resource-based economy. Who knows? This is really, really the problem. So we have to make change. And by the way, real change doesn't always have to come through policy issues. It could come from a lot of means. Technology, self-driving cars that are coming pretty soon. That's going to have a larger impact on immigration, believe it or not. A lot of people don't really discuss about this. Vertical farms, foods being grown in the cities, all these different things. Again, you got to stop relying too much on these elections. If you think that bringing the GOP control of the House or the Democrats is going to make a lot of difference, it's not. It's not going to make much of a difference. Stop your crying, all this notions and everything. Okay? So this is exactly what you have to really understand. And real change also comes from movements that I'm trying to promote. Like, I want to build a series of master plan neighborhoods and developments several miles outside of the Strip. Better forms of transportation, better forms of land use, architecture, and living arrangement and so forth. That is real change, okay? You don't always have to bring change through violence and speaking out against like this. This is why my goals is my top priority in life. And that's one of the reasons why I'm heavily invested in the stock market, so that I can raise enough funds to carry out on my own ideas. Okay? So this is really the thing that you have to really understand. You have to understand the division and the divergence behind this, the propaganda of what is exactly going on. So before I go, I just want to let you know, this whole corrupt system that I'm talking about really depends on not so smart people. People have to be not so smart and naive enough to support the properties of MGM, to pay $30 for a drink at the nightclub, to pay $30 to get in, to pay $30 to pay resort fees and parking and all this other nonsense, $30 for a buffet, this and that over and over again. It all depends on naive people, because if people were so much informed, then we wouldn't be supporting these disgusting buffoons in the first place, and their properties and their businesses. You see, this is one of the problems with the so-called free market that I have. And I know it has a lot of benefits, but a free market often depends on stupid, naive people where corrupt and greedy businessmen can make shady deals to the public. If people were smart enough, we wouldn't be having all these debts associated with obesity and smoking. And if people were so smart enough in terms of the policy issues, people wouldn't be siding on the alt-right or on Antifa and all these other organizations. People would be uniting. People would be focusing on the most important issues. People would be focusing on the head of the octopus instead of the legs of it, instead of the symptoms. See, awareness is the most important thing. People have to be aware, and they have to know what are the real solutions and how to get things done. Okay? Again, this entire corrupt system depends on stupid, not informed people. And until people wake up, we can get better policy, we can get better business deals, and we can have a better world. That's all it really takes. Okay? So I suggest you guys get out there, confront, and speak out against these scumbag politicians, and talk to your neighbors. Get out to your community. You know, we really need good neighbors in this society. This is one of the problems. Nowadays, a lot of neighbors don't really know each other. All right, well, this is my take. This is my take about James Murren. James Murren is the real statue that needs to come down, as it seems. And I want you to look at that article in Bloomberg, the CEO of MGM Resorts International. Thank you guys so much. I want you to take care. And again, I don't want you to look at this video that I'm pissed off and I'm angry. I'm so happy about everything I have. Just be glad about the life you have now. I've got this house. I've got food on my refrigerator. I've got all these great things. I don't need to worry about it. And when I'm speaking out, I do it to benefit for myself and everybody else. But I focus on myself first. When times are tough, focus on yourself first. Try to make sure that yourself is better, okay, as your top priority, along with your family and friends, okay? That's the most important thing that you have to really understand. Because get ready, folks. Things might get tough, and I might lose all this. All right? All right. Well, take care. Spread this message. And take it easy. Stay safe.